Did you walk into a room today and completely forget why you went there? Or maybe you blanked on your neighbor's name even though you've chatted with them every week for years. If you're over 50 and these moments are happening more often, you're not alone, and more importantly, you're not powerless. Today I'm going to share 5 science-backed strategies that can actually help you maintain and even improve your cognitive function as you age, and I'll show you exactly how to implement them safely, even if you have arthritis, diabetes, or take multiple medications. Stick with me, because the third tip is something most doctors don't emphasize enough, yet research shows it can reduce your dementia risk by up to 40%. Let's talk about what's really happening in your brain after 50. Your brain isn't simply deteriorating like an old car losing parts. What's actually occurring is more nuanced. Blood flow to certain brain regions can decrease by about 15 to 20% between ages 50 and 70. The hippocampus, your memory center, shrinks at about 1 to 2% per year after 60. Neurotransmitter production, especially dopamine and acetylcholine, gradually declines. But here's the critical part that most people miss. This is not a one-way street. Your brain retains something called neuroplasticity, the ability to form new neural connections, build new pathways, and even generate new brain cells in specific regions throughout your entire life. The key is knowing how to activate this potential. Now, the biggest mistake I see people make is assuming that brain decline is inevitable and doing nothing, or conversely, panicking and spending hundreds of dollars on supplements that have minimal evidence. Another common error is jumping into intense cognitive training apps without addressing the foundational lifestyle factors that account for about 70% of your cognitive health. And here's one that surprises people. Many assume that if they stay mentally active at work, they're covered. But occupational mental activity and the type of cognitive stimulation that protects your brain are often quite different. Let me break down what actually works. The first strategy is strategic physical movement, and I'm not talking about running marathons. For your age group, we have overwhelming evidence that regular moderate aerobic exercise is the single most powerful intervention for brain health. When you move your body aerobically, meaning your heart rate increases and you breathe harder but can still hold a conversation, your brain releases something called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF. Think of BDNF as fertilizer for your brain cells. It promotes the growth of new neurons, strengthens existing connections, and protects against cognitive decline. Studies show that adults over 50 who engage in 30 minutes of moderate aerobic activity 5 days per week have significantly larger hippocampal volumes and better memory performance than their sedentary peers. But let's get practical. If you have knee osteoarthritis, you can't just start jogging. If you have heart disease, you need to be careful about intensity. If you're on blood pressure medication, you might experience dizziness with sudden movements. Here's what you can do safely. Start with brisk walking if your joints allow it. Brisk means you're moving at a pace where you can talk but not sing. If walking is painful, try chair exercises, swimming, or water aerobics where the water supports your joints. If you have balance issues, use a walker, or walk on a treadmill with handrails. Or better yet, do seated marching exercises while watching television. The goal is to get your heart rate up moderately for at least 20 to 30 minutes most days of the week. If you can only do 10 minutes at first, do 3 10-minute sessions throughout the day. Research shows that breaking exercise into shorter bouts provides similar benefits. Here's a micro action you can implement today. Set 3 alarms on your phone for morning, midday, and evening. When each alarm goes off, walk around your home or march in place for 10 minutes. If you take metformin for diabetes, exercise actually helps your medication work better by improving insulin sensitivity. If you're on anticoagulants like warfarin, avoid contact sports, but walking and swimming are safe. Always tell your doctor you're starting an exercise program, especially if you have cardiovascular disease, but don't let that stop you from moving at a safe, moderate level. The second strategy is precision nutrition for your brain, and this goes far beyond the generic advice to eat more fish. Your brain is about 2% of your body weight, but uses 20% of your daily energy and requires specific nutrients to function optimally. After 50, your ability to absorb certain nutrients decreases, and many common medications further deplete key vitamins. Let me give you the specific nutrients that matter most, and how to get them without complicated meal plans. Omega-3 fatty acids, particularly DHA, are structural components of your brain cell membranes. They reduce inflammation and support the fluidity of neural transmission. The best source is fatty fish like salmon, mackerel, sardines, and herring. You want to eat at least 2 servings per week. If you don't eat fish, algae-based omega-3 supplements are a good alternative, typically 1 to 2 grams daily. Now, if you're on blood thinners, omega-3s can increase bleeding risk at very high doses above 3 grams per day, so stay within the 1 to 2 gram range and inform your doctor. If you take a statin for cholesterol, omega-3s actually complement that therapy beautifully. B vitamins, especially B6, B12, and folate, are critical for producing neurotransmitters and reducing homocysteine, an amino acid that at high levels damages blood vessels in your brain. After 50, especially if you take proton pump inhibitors like omeprazole for heartburn or metformin for diabetes, your B12 absorption drops significantly. You need B12 from animal products like eggs, dairy, and meat, or from fortified foods. If you're vegetarian or vegan, you almost certainly need a B12 supplement. Most people over 60 should consider at least 500 micrograms of B12 daily. Folate comes from dark leafy greens like spinach and kale. B6 is in chickpeas, bananas, and chicken. A daily multivitamin designed for seniors typically covers these bases. Antioxidants protect your brain cells from oxidative stress, which accelerates with age. The most potent dietary antioxidants come from deeply colored fruits and vegetables. Blueberries have been specifically studied and show memory benefits. Aim for 1 cup of berries daily if possible. Dark chocolate with at least 70% cocoa contains flavonoids that improve blood flow to the brain. 1 to 2 small squares daily is beneficial. Green tea contains L-theanine and EGCG, compounds that support focus and neuroprotection. 2 to 3 cups daily is ideal. If caffeine affects your sleep, switch to decaf green tea or drink it only in the morning. Here's your micro action. Tomorrow, add 1 cup of blueberries to your breakfast, have a handful of walnuts as a snack, and include a palm-sized serving of salmon or sardines twice this week. If you're managing your budget, frozen berries are just as nutritious as fresh and often cheaper. If you have diverticulitis and worry about seeds, blueberries are generally fine, but you can also puree them into a smoothie. The third strategy, and this is the one most people underestimate, is protecting your sleep architecture. After 50, your sleep naturally becomes lighter and more fragmented, but chronic poor sleep is one of the fastest ways to accelerate cognitive decline. During deep sleep, your brain activates the glymphatic system, essentially a waste clearance system that flushes out toxic proteins like beta amyloid, which accumulates in Alzheimer's disease. When you don't get enough deep sleep, these toxins build up. Studies show that people who consistently sleep less than 6 hours per night have a 30% higher risk of dementia. Many of you are dealing with sleep issues because of medications. Beta blockers can cause vivid dreams and nighttime awakenings. Diuretics make you urinate frequently at night. Corticosteroids can cause insomnia. Prostate issues in men lead to multiple bathroom trips. Hot flashes in women disrupt sleep continuity. You can't always change these factors, but you can optimize everything else. First, create a sleep sanctuary. Your bedroom should be cool, between 65 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Darkness is critical because even small amounts of light suppress melatonin, your sleep hormone. Use blackout curtains or a sleep mask. If you get up to use the bathroom, use a dim red nightlight instead of turning on bright overhead lights. White noise from a fan or machine can mask disruptive sounds. Second, establish a consistent sleep schedule. Go to bed and wake up at the same time every day, even weekends. Your brain thrives on predictability. If you nap during the day, keep it to 20 to 30 minutes before 3 p.m. Otherwise, it will interfere with nighttime sleep. Third, manage your evening routine. Stop caffeine by 2 p.m. because it has a half-life of 5 to 6 hours. Even if you think it doesn't affect you, it does. Limit fluids 2 hours before bed to reduce nighttime urination. Avoid large meals within 3 hours of bedtime. If you take a diuretic, ask your doctor if you can take it in the morning instead of evening. If you wake up to urinate, don't fully wake yourself up by checking your phone or turning on bright lights. Keep it as boring as possible so you fall back asleep quickly. Here's your micro action. Tonight, Set your bedroom temperature to 67 degrees, put your phone in another room, or at least face down across the room, and use a sleep mask. If you take medications that disrupt sleep, write down your medication list and bring it to your next doctor's appointment to discuss timing adjustments. Don't stop any medication without medical guidance. Red flag. If you snore loudly, gasp for air during sleep, or your partner says you stop breathing, you may have sleep apnea, which dramatically increases dementia risk. See your doctor for a sleep study. If you have sudden severe insomnia that's new, especially with confusion, fever, or neurological symptoms, that's an emergency. Go to urgent care. The fourth strategy is purposeful social engagement, and I need you to understand that loneliness is not just an emotional issue. It's a medical risk factor, as dangerous as smoking 15 cigarettes per day. Social isolation increases dementia risk by 50%. When you engage in meaningful social interaction, your brain activates multiple regions simultaneously: language processing, emotional regulation, theory of mind, memory retrieval, and executive function. This complex activation is exactly the type of cognitive workout your brain needs. But here's where people go wrong. Passive socializing, like sitting in a room with others while everyone watches television, provides minimal benefit. You need interactive, engaging social contact, conversation, collaboration, shared activities, even friendly debate. After 50, your social circle often shrinks due to retirement, relocation, health limitations, or loss of loved ones. You have to be intentional about rebuilding and maintaining connections. Join groups based on genuine interests: book clubs, gardening clubs, volunteer organizations, religious or spiritual communities, exercise classes, hobby groups. The key is regular, scheduled interaction with the same people over time, so relationships deepen. If mobility is an issue, many communities offer senior centers with transportation services. If you live in a rural area, look for virtual groups. Video calls with family and friends absolutely count and show cognitive benefits in research. Learn something social. Take a class in painting, cooking, a new language, or dancing. Partner dancing like ballroom or line dancing is particularly beneficial because it combines physical movement, music, social interaction, and learning complex sequences. If you have a spouse or partner, this is a wonderful shared activity. If you're single, these classes are excellent ways to meet people. Volunteer regularly. Helping others provides purpose, structure, and social connection. Hospitals, libraries, schools, animal shelters, food banks, and community organizations always need volunteers. Even 2 to 3 hours per week makes a difference both for your brain and your community. Here's your micro action. This week, identify one social activity you used to enjoy or always wanted to try. Find a local group or class. Call or email them. Show up once. If you don't like it, try something else. But commit to showing up. If phone calls intimidate you, ask a family member to help you find options. If you're hard of hearing, many groups accommodate this with written materials or hearing loop systems. Don't let embarrassment stop you. Red flag. If you notice you're withdrawing from all social activities, losing interest in things you used to love, feeling hopeless, or having thoughts of self-harm, these are signs of depression, which is both common and treatable in older adults. Call your doctor immediately. Depression significantly increases dementia risk and needs treatment. The fifth strategy is targeted cognitive training, but not the way most apps advertise it. Your brain needs novelty and challenge, not repetitive games that you get good at and then plateau. When you learn something genuinely new, especially something that's difficult and takes you out of your comfort zone, your brain builds new neural pathways. The challenge is what drives growth. Learn a musical instrument. This is one of the most powerful cognitive interventions in research. Playing music requires reading notation, coordinating fine motor movements, listening and adjusting in real time, and memorizing sequences. It activates nearly your entire brain simultaneously. Don't worry about becoming a virtuoso. Even 30 minutes of practice 3 times per week shows benefits within months. Piano, guitar, ukulele, or even harmonica are all excellent choices. Many community centers offer affordable group lessons for seniors. Learn a new language. Bilingualism is associated with a 4 to 5 year delay in dementia onset in research studies. Language learning requires memory, attention, pattern recognition, and cultural understanding. Apps like Duolingo make this accessible and free. Or join a language class at a community college. The social aspect of a class adds extra benefit. Engage in complex hobbies. Activities like chess, bridge, woodworking, quilting, gardening, or strategy games require planning, problem solving, and sustained attention. The key is that it should be challenging enough that you have to think, but not so hard that you give up in frustration. Here's what doesn't work as well. Doing the same crossword puzzle at the same difficulty level every day for years. Once you've mastered it, it's not challenging anymore. You need to constantly increase difficulty or switch to new types of puzzles. Brain training apps can help, but only if you keep progressing to harder levels and combine them with real-world learning. Here's your micro-action. Choose one new skill to learn this month. If it's music, rent or borrow an instrument and sign up for 3 trial lessons. If it's a language, download an app and commit to 10 minutes every morning with your coffee. If it's a craft, buy a beginner kit and watch tutorial videos. Schedule it like a doctor's appointment so it actually happens. Now let me give you a simple weekly checklist you can print and stick on your refrigerator. Monday through Friday, check off 30 minutes of physical movement. Every day, check off 7 to 8 hours of sleep opportunity. That means time in bed with lights out. 3 times this week, check off a serving of fatty fish or a handful of walnuts. 4 times this week, check off meaningful social interaction, whether in person, by phone, or video. 3 times this week, check off 30 minutes practicing your new skill or hobby. At the end of each week, if you hit at least 80% of your checks, you're on the right track. If you're below 50%, identify the biggest barrier and problem solve it. Maybe you need to adjust timing, get help from family, or modify the activity. Let me also address supplements quickly because I get asked constantly. Ginkgo biloba has mixed evidence and can increase bleeding risk if you're on anticoagulants. Vitamin E at high doses has not shown benefit and may increase mortality in some studies. Coconut oil and medium-chain triglycerides don't have strong evidence for dementia prevention. What does have decent evidence? Omega-3 fish oil if you don't eat fish, vitamin D if you're deficient, which many older adults are, and B12 if you're low or at risk. Get blood work to check your levels before taking high doses of anything. More is not better with supplements, and some can interact dangerously with your medications. If you're noticing memory problems, when should you worry? Occasional forgetfulness like losing your keys or forgetting a word is normal aging. What's not normal? Getting lost in familiar places, forgetting recent conversations entirely, having trouble managing finances or medications you've handled for years, personality changes, or difficulty with routine tasks like cooking a meal you've made hundreds of times. If you or your family notice these changes, see your doctor for a cognitive assessment. Early detection of dementia allows for earlier intervention, medication options, safety planning, and legal preparation. Red flags for emergency care: sudden severe confusion, trouble speaking or understanding speech, weakness on one side of your body, sudden severe headache, vision changes, or loss of consciousness. These can indicate stroke, and every minute matters. Call emergency services immediately. Let me bring this all together. You have more control over your cognitive health than you think. Move your body moderately most days, even if it's just walking around your house. Feed your brain omega-3s, B vitamins, and antioxidants from real food. Prioritize 7 to 8 hours of sleep in a dark, cool room. Connect meaningfully with other people several times per week. Challenge your brain by learning something genuinely new and difficult. These 5 strategies are backed by decades of research across hundreds of thousands of people. They're safe when implemented appropriately for your individual health conditions, they're mostly free or low cost, and they work. Start with one strategy this week, master it over the next month, then add another. Within 3 months, these will become habits, and within 6 months, you'll likely notice improvements in your memory, focus, and mental clarity. Your brain is remarkably resilient and responsive when you give it what it needs. If you found this helpful, subscribe to this channel because next week I'm covering the 5 biggest medication mistakes people over 50 make that increase fall risk and cognitive problems, including some combinations your doctor might not have flagged. Click the bell so you don't miss it. And remember, This is educational information designed to empower you with knowledge. It does not replace individualized medical care. Your personal health history, medications, and conditions require personalized guidance from your own physician. Use this information as a starting point for conversations with your healthcare team, not as a substitute for professional medical advice. Take care of that incredible brain of yours. It's the only one you've got, and it's worth protecting.